Typo is a different kind of business book, and the reason for that is a fewfold. One, it's about failure, and very few books are about failure. It's also told from the perspective of the owner of the business. Most books about failure are written from an outside journalist point of view or someone inside the pyramid. I was at the top. It was my company. Also, the first drafts of the book the first draft had 300 chapters and was all of the lessons I learned. And what I learned in writing the book was there were two courses I could take. One is here are the 12 things I learned about business type book. Here's the top things, and here's what you should know. Just flat out telling people. And I didn't want to write that. I didn't think that would be as effective as sharing the experience going from naive young man to the end of my career, hopefully not the end of my career, but the end of my typesetting career, and taking someone on that journey so they could learn by watching what happened, by showing, not through forcing it down their throat. And I was at a conference in Baltimore. It was the nonfiction writing conference hosted by Goucher College and led by a man named Lee Gutkind, who is the godfather of creative nonfiction. And he has this thing called the yellow test. And his yellow test was that if you take a good piece of nonfiction, so Truman Capote, Joan Didion, that you would highlight in that story the pieces that are scenic, that are like fiction, with dialogue and scenic description. And then the other parts that are journalistic, that are more explanatory, you don't highlight. And he said about 70% should be highlighted. And I thought, that's brilliant. That makes perfect sense. I understand exactly what it is about my book I need to fix. And I need to rewrite the entire thing all over again, which I did. And that draft was the one that caught the publisher's eye. That was the draft that when I showed to people, they said, it was like Kitchen Confidential, one of my favorite books, about growing up in the kitchens in New York, or like Liar's Poker, a book that is a story of life in something. It's a narrative, it reads like fiction, but it's truth. And unlike some of those other books out there that are, quote, nonfiction, that are not nonfiction, everything in this book is true, with the exception of one drawing, which I made up. At the end, it's about a sentence. Everything else is true. And that's why Typo is a different kind of nonfiction business memoir.